Hi everyone, my name is Ann Berger and I'm an educational consultant with the Hamilton County Educational Service Center. It is my pleasure to share some thoughts with the St. Ursula community as it pertains to the shift in education from the traditional brick and mortar classroom to a remote learning setting. We need to start out by acknowledging that this is not authentic online learning. The teachers were not trained for online learning. They did not have time to prepare this as an online course, and your student did not elect to take an online course. Instead, this is learning in a crisis. Your schools are working to find the best solution to provide instruction to students in the middle of a national crisis. Crisis schooling is stressful and even trauma-inducing. The hope is that the following message will help to minimize the challenges during this instructional shift. I want to begin by addressing the grief and loss your student is most likely dealing with. We want to make sure we are making space for this grief and helping them to deal with this emotion. Out of the blue, they lost a lot. They lost their in-person time with friends, their daily routine, and their predictability of life that gives us security. Honor that grief process. You may see this manifest itself in that they are anxious and maybe tired or disconnected. School's been a safe place for them, and now it's not available to them. Some degree of pessimism and self-doubt comes with the territory of losing this daily structure and security. Be on the lookout for what self-doubt may be creeping into their thoughts and look for ways to address this. Find ways to set up intentional celebrations when students overcome these challenging thoughts. They will need to have constant reassurance that the work they are accomplishing is good in the face of this crisis. We are responding to an emergency and acting as we can. This is not long-term. Giving grace is going to be vital during this time of grief and loss. Grace to the administration, grace to the teachers, grace to their peers, and most importantly, grace to themselves. We want to keep realistic perspective, and this can happen through flexibility. The students will need to start by being reasonable with themselves. It is, in fact, impossible to shift to remote learning overnight without lots of trial and error. Help them to expect it, plan for it, and do their best to make peace with it. This may require them to reset their baseline. We're all operating in the shadow of a global pandemic, and it is disorienting and limiting. Business as usual is unrealistic. Encourage them to release themselves from unrealistically high expectations right now. Remind them to be flexible. Sometimes it can be difficult to anticipate the roadblocks that students might face while navigating this new territory. Technical glitches will happen, and we need to make space for them. Give grace for the finesse of this new online way of communication and learning. Practicing patience in the light of this new learning experience will help students to overcome many of the challenges they may face. The panic they may feel is perfectly understandable. Remember that rather than being guided by their teacher in the classroom daily, they will be consuming and processing significant material alone. This is a completely new experience for the student. The mental approach you will need to stay grounded in this difficult time is based around patience. What would normally take one class period to teach in the classroom will probably take twice as long in this setting. The same can be said about students learning in a remote learning setting. When students use a lot of cognitive resources, trying to figure out where to go to access readings, videos, discussions, or quizzes, they have little mental energy left for the content itself. This can lead to a discouraged and/or irritated student, and that student is less likely to learn. This is a great place for parents to provide support. Help your student to establish a system for organizing the goals and expectations at the start of each week. The systems that teachers used in the traditional classroom to keep students organized have dramatically changed overnight. They will need to reestablish how to stay on top of the work. By working to reduce their frustration level and building patience with this, they can have a better energy for their learning. Finally, it's important to remember that good communication will continue the connection the student had to the classroom. Make sure the lines of communication are two-way and that your child asks for clarity when it is needed. There's a lot of information to sift through, and at times communication may be unclear. Finding a way to still connect with the teachers will play a vital role in finding success in this learning setting. Virtual classes do not carry the same energy and connection as in-person classes. Encourage your child to check in with the teacher or any other adults they rely on to confirm that they are seeing everything correctly. Along with understanding expectations, make sure the student understands and is clear on how feedback will be provided. Feedback is going to be important because students will not have the constant, informal feedback they usually get during class. Help students see how each teacher is providing them feedback and work with the student on getting more clarity on feedback when needed. I hope this message can be helpful as you work to support your child through this shift in education. We are all facing a time that has greatly changed our day-to-day life. Students have spent their entire lives learning one way, and now they are being asked to rapidly adapt to a completely different way of learning. This will be a challenge, but with the correct focus, we will all be able to make this shift successfully. Thank you for your time.